Okay, so I'm going to run through some child language revision. We've done this in a lesson. A lot of people missed it. Some of you might want to, recap it. So it's about an approach to the child language essay that you can take that will work. Okay, this is a really effective way to approach it. I'm not saying it's easy, but it will work. Okay, so the child language essay, it's paper 1, question 4. Please remember not to answer question 5, which is about acquisition of literacy. You'll know it's the wrong question because instead of a transcript of a child speaking, it will have some children's writing. Don't do that question, okay? So just ignore question 5. You don't even need to look at it. All right, you can't answer that question. It's a completely different set of theories for acquisition of literacy, which we haven't done. So it's paper 1, question 4. You get an hour to do it, and you get a question with a transcript of a child or children talking. It's usually a child with an adult. Occasionally it's been 2 children. Okay, so the method we've always used all the way through this year is to start with the transcript. So if you remember when we first had a go at child language essays, I gave you that the A3 sheets with the transcript in the middle and the concentric circles around them. Obviously, it won't look like that on the exam. That was just a way of reminding you to start with the transcript. The reason for that is there are 30 marks for the essay. 15 of them are for dealing with the theories, but 15 are for dealing with the transcript. And what we were finding generally was people weren't doing enough to get those 15 marks with the transcript. So if you start with that, it's really helpful in making sure you maximize those marks. So start with the transcript. Don't even think about the question really. Just make margin notes. Just spend 10 minutes going through the transcript. Make margin notes on anything you notice in the transcript, okay? On page 28 and 29 of the paper 1 revision booklet, there's a list of things you can look out for, and that includes, if you've got an adult, it includes things you can look for in child-directed speech, okay? If there's no adult, there's no child-directed speech. Other children don't use it, okay? So just be careful with that. If you're finding you're looking at the transcript and you can't think of anything to annotate, it's because you're looking for problems, right? You're looking for things the child can't do or mistakes they're making. So remember to also focus on things they are doing, like what can they do? So look at, what semantic field are they using? Can they use any morphemes, like are they making plurals using an S? Can they make tenses? So can they make past tense using ed or future tense using modal verbs like will? Are they using concrete nouns? Are they using material verbs? Are they using any grammatical words like auxiliary verbs or conjunctions? Right, what can they do? What are they doing? What functions of language are they using? So is it imaginative or regulatory? Okay, all of this is in your list of things to look for in your revision booklet. What scores especially high? Any talk about morphemes scores in the top band. These are top band things. So anything about morphemes. So if you can say like they use a plural S morpheme, or a past tense ed morpheme, or a present continuous ing, or anything like that, just use the word morpheme. If they make a virtuous error, use the word morpheme, like they've applied a regular morpheme to an irregular word. Anything you can say about syntax. So I wouldn't try and start identifying sentence types or anything like that. So it's just not suitable for spoken language. But if they use a question or a negative, you can definitely talk about whether they've done that using, adult word order, or whether they've done it differently. A clause type or two maybe. So if they've used any subordinate clauses, you can point that out, but don't worry about sentence types. Pointing out whether they are using only lexical words or also grammatical words is good. So lexical words are nouns and pronouns, verbs, adjectives and adverbs. Okay, if they're using anything else, those are grammatical words. So in the telegraphic stage, children will only use lexical words. They'll miss out the grammatical. Post-telegraphic, they'll start putting those grammatical words back in. So if you can comment on that and use those words like lexical words, grammatical words. I forgot to put something on this slide, which also scores in the top band, I've just realised, which is deictic language, D-E-I-C-T-I-C, deictic language. That just means context-dependent language. So it's to use deictic language, you need to have some sort of shared context. It's things like saying, that one, this, I did this, pass me that one, can you see this one? Can you see those? Point to those. So deictic language is a sign that lots of interaction is happening. And if you name it as deictic language, so it's using those pronouns that need you to be there. So saying like this, that, those. Okay, context dependent language. If you hate the word deictic, use context dependent instead. Okay, so start with the transcript. 10 minutes, annotate the transcript, thinking about anything the child can do and is doing, thinking about use of child-directed speech by the parent if there is an adult, parent or other adult. Use page 28 and 29 in the paper 1 revision booklet. You can use that to like practice with the past papers. Okay, and then you can pre-prepare your basic theory paragraphs, and this is what I recommend. So you should have a copy of some examples of pre-prepared paragraphs that your teacher's given you. If not, just speak to them about that. In your pre-prepared paragraph, there's an example here. You want a basic definition of the theory and then evidence for and against that theory. Okay, so by evidence for and against, I mean things like studies, research, case studies, that kind of thing. So this one is about nativism. You need one for each theory. Okay, so you can see here, you've got here, this theory was devised by Chomsky in the 1950s and stated that an innate language acquisition device which allows us to notice and apply rules or patterns to language. It focuses on nature, not nurture. Okay, that's your basic definition. You can just memorize that. Then there is some evidence for and against. So we've got speed as evidence for, virtuous errors, the WUG test. We've got some mention of Steven Pinker. And then we've got some weaknesses or some challenges. So that starts here. There is an argument that nativism underestimates the importance of social interaction. And then it talks about the critical period hypothesis. Okay. So some criticisms. So one of those for each theory. And then when you get into the exam, you can adapt your pre-prepared paragraphs. So you definitely know whatever the question, they will want you to define each theory and give some strengths and weaknesses, right? So you might as well have that in advance. You can literally just memorize it. Okay. If you want your teacher to check your pre-prepared paragraphs, you can ask them. You can use the ones that you've been given, but just make sure you understand them. Okay. And then when you get in there, use them like this. Okay, so we'll use this as an example question. Children's language development can be explained with reference to nature rather than nurture, right? That was the 2020 question. Evaluate this idea, including reference to the transcript. Okay, so you've got your pre-prepared paragraph and now you can add stuff into it. So in red, topic sentence. So the topic sentence comes at the beginning of the paragraph and it refers to the question. All right, so you make a link between the theory you're going to discuss in this paragraph and the question. One theory, so in this case, we've got one theory of child language development which focuses on nature rather than nurture is nativism, right? Then you launch into your pre-prepared paragraph. So topic sentence, then mini conclusion at the end. You'll also need a mini conclusion. So the mini conclusion at the bottom there, you answer the question in relation to this theory. Okay, you can see that. So although there is convincing evidence for nativism, it may not explain all elements of child language development. That then kind of helps lead into your next paragraph. Okay. Right, here's the difficult bit. So you've got a topic sentence mini conclusion. Okay, evidence from the transcript. So once you've annotated the transcript in your first 10 minutes, you should be able to look at it and pull out examples from the transcript that you can use to support or challenge or both each theory. Okay, it is essential that you have examples from the transcript, including quotes in every paragraph, aside from your intro and conclusion. All right, so this paragraph's about nativism. So I've pulled out from the transcript a virtuous error, okay, and explained how virtuous errors fit in with nativism there. And then I've also talked about the fact that this child is at the telegraphic stage, quoted an example to show how she's at the telegraphic stage. And then talked about how stages suggest there's some like innate element to language acquisition, and therefore that links to nativism. Okay, so I won't read that out to you. You can read it in your own time, but that's the idea. So in your head is this pre-prepared paragraph, and you then can just sort of slot things to do with the specific question into it. Okay, so you're going to need to memorize your pre-prepared paragraph, not word for word, but you know what your definition will be and your strengths and weaknesses. Okay, and then you can just slot stuff in, and it does work. Okay, this is a really successful approach. So write your prepared paragraphs or use the ones you've been given. All right, speak to your teacher about it if you want them checked or you want copies of the ones we've given out. So just a quick recap. Okay, this method will work. It's not easy, all right, but it is effective. So it does involve you knowing your pre-prepared paragraphs really well. It does involve you being able to annotate the transcripts really well. All right, so this is what you do. So pre-prepare now your basic paragraphs. Okay, define the theories, give their strengths and weaknesses using evidence such as case studies or research. Okay, and then once you get into the exam, 10 minutes to annotate the transcript, then look at the question. Think about your topic sentence and mini conclusion. Make sure you use keywords from the question in those, and then evidence for or against each theory from the transcript in every paragraph, including quotes, including using terminology to define. Okay, that will lead you to do a really good child language essay. It's not easy because the time is an issue. You know, you only get an hour to do the child language question. You really need 10 minutes to look at the transcript at least. So, you know, you are pushed for time, and having pre-prepared paragraphs really helps with that. Okay, so there's other advice. There's child language revision stuff in the booklet. Obviously, you've got to revise the content so that you remember it. This is just about exam technique, all right, and it will work. So you definitely need to be doing these pre-prepared paragraphs. Okay, I promise it will really help. All right, speak to your teacher about it if you need any further help with that. Sorry.